Welcome to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I am your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, B?
Good. Have you recovered from your concert weekend?
No.
Man, I saw
Oh
those pics.
man.
Man, they look like y'all was like total rock stars, man.
Good God, that place was insane. Insane. The only bad thing about it is after all the fun of playing, now you got to pack all that stuff up and all that
Right.
crowd. So yeah,
Yeah,
tiring,
the life of
tiring
a
weekend.
musician. I remember being a pseudo DJ doing uh, uh, parties at restaurants and sometimes karaoke and stuff like that. And it was all good while everything was going on, man. But the only thing I could think in my mind was at the end of the night, I got to carry them speakers.
Exactly.
Oh God, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap those wires up. I'm gonna have to take that stand down and that stand down and pick up them JBLs and carry them out to the car. And of course, wherever the place was, it wasn't anywhere close to the entrance. So
Oh
I had
no, never that. That would be too simple.
oh my God, and then the big old DJ rig and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see here. Anthony, already into what's up, A. I needed a quarterback and I had the Panthers Walker. That man didn't do nothing for me, shaking my head. Well, Anthony, he ain't done a lot for us either. Last week was a total disaster. And before I get into tearing the Panthers a new one, which is almost a weekly thing, thanks for joining us this week. We are coming to you live on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Empower TV Network. Please definitely go there and like, share, and most importantly, please subscribe. As anytime we post anything, you'll get a notification about it. If you also would like, we have our Empower TV network that streams on Amazon Fire TV as well as Roku. There you can find other content, previous shows. This is our third season of Head to Head Sports. So season 1 and season 2 are there, as well as the episodes for season 3. Yeah, we've done a lot of episodes, man.
We have been busy.
Yeah, we've been busy. We've been getting it in. So I guess without further ado, Anthony, before I jump on the Panthers, I just wanted to recap the Pittsburgh-Houston game last Thursday because that game to me was a little harder than I thought it would be for the Eagles. Davis Mills definitely held his own for a while in that game against Philly. He just couldn't get the ball down the field. 13 of 22, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Still a young guy. He started as a rook last year, almost thrown into the fire once. Deshaun Watson was basically shelved for all of last season. So he had to learn on the fly. And of course, Culley isn't his coach anymore. Now he has Lovie Smith and all those types of things. And the kid isn't bad. He doesn't have whole lot of help. But I really thought the Eagles were just going to come in and just smack him in the mouth, and they hung with him for a little bit. But of course, Philly has proven that they can win in a variety of ways, and they continue to do that with Jalen Hurts, 21 to 27, pretty efficient, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. When are folks going to start talking about this dude for MVP considerations?
Of course, man. I mean, we've had that conversation in here. Some disagree, but I'm on your side with it. I mean, that man is carrying the Eagles. A lot of people are talking about, the Eagles, they haven't played anybody. You can only beat who's on your schedule. So I'm not really trying to hear that.
And to me, Rand, like I said in previous shows, people really thought the Eagles would be a really good team, but the dark horse to them was the quarterback. Well, I don't see instances where they're winning despite who their quarterback is. I've seen teams do that before where the quarterback, I've seen Jimmy G sometimes be that guy where sometimes they win despite Jimmy G being the quarterback. I see the Eagles a lot of times winning because he's the quarterback, because he's steady, because he's unflappable, because he's consistent, he's on time. He's self-aware of where he is on the field. His leadership skills. Those are the things that you look for in an MVP. And every time the bell is rung, he answers the call. So I don't know what more he can do. Like you said, you got to play who's on your schedule. You can't play the what if battles and stuff like that. It just doesn't happen like that. And nobody gets to 8-0 just by blind luck. You're pretty darn good if you're 8-0, regardless of who you played. Because as we'll talk about with some other teams that beat people, Jets, it ain't any given Sunday. Somebody can get you. So don't be the paper champions and everything like that. You got to go out on the field every single week and prove that you are worthy of who you are. And like what coach used to say, you are what your record says you are. That pretty much is the truth. You are. They're 8-0 and deservedly so.
Yeah, I mean, they blew Pittsburgh out the box in a game I sat and slowly watched, and it was strictly because of Hurts that they blew us out the box. Them passes that he hit were just tremendous passes, man. I mean, they dropped right into the bread box of the wide receivers. So,
yeah, I mean, let's be real. Yes, he has AJ Brown. Yes, he has got a great running game. But let's just say you put, I don't know, Baker Mayfield there.
That changes everything.
Do you really think they would be 8-0?
No.
How about hell to the no?
Hell no.
So hey, if y'all don't value Jalen Hurts, he can come on down to Carolina anytime. Anytime. Speaking of them damn Carolina Panthers, 5 touchdowns to one person.
Man, I was so frustrated watching
Joe Mixon.
I was so frustrated watching that game.
Oh my boy! But you know what? If I'm just gonna not show up today with a meme, that was it right there. I mean, damn, 35-0 at halftime for real? That's what we doing?
Pathetic effort.
Joe Mixon had 3 touchdowns at halftime. Running. He ran the ball. He just kept running and running and running. They ran all over the Panthers. You know what? And here's the sad part. They actually let up because it could have been more than 42 points that they scored. But Joe, and here's the funny part. No, I'm sorry. So Joe Mixon had he had 4 touchdowns. No, he had 5. He received 1. That's right. He had 5. So he catches 4 balls for 58 yards. He runs only for 22 carries for 153 yards, which is 7 yards a carry. And then he runs for another 4 touchdowns. So all-purpose yards, he had close to 200 and 5 touchdowns out of
it. So here's the thing that gets me with that game, right? Now, because Baker Mayfield came into the game and went 14 out of 20 with 155 yards, all of a sudden people say, oh, Baker's back. He's back. He's back. He should be the starting quarterback. Dude, the Bengals let up. They had half of the roster that was in there, no longer starters. And on top of that, they had another quarterback that they pulled all together and put him in. And they were playing prevent defense. And there was nothing on the line for the entire remainder of the game. Right. So, of course, Baker could go in there under no pressure from the defense and perform and pass and find open spaces in prevent defense. But you're not going to see that the coming week.
Oh, no, because when teams game plan for Baker versus PJ, one game plan is you're game planning for a mobile quarterback. The next one you're game planning for a short quarterback that tries to stand in the pocket like he's 6'6". So your whole, and people have to remember, normally when games start, there's about 20 to 25 scripted plays that they have. When teams come out in a game, they have like their top 20 to 25 plays that they say, this is what we're going to do to set the tone for this game. And they basically go down that list. Okay, we ran that play. And they evaluate the plays as they run them to really see which ones are working, to see if maybe they need to call a variation of that play. but they pretty much have that list of plays and they run down it basically to gain momentum. These are the ones that they ran through practice, they felt real good about, and they feel like if they execute these plays properly, it'll work out and be very productive for them. The rest of the game, it's either going back to some of those plays or it's literally just picking certain vanilla plays or other plays that maybe they haven't worked out as much. That's why you notice normally the first couple of plays in the game, you don't see a lot of penalties. You shouldn't, because they practice that same play all week. So when you get linemen flinching or coming off of a hard count or something like that, unless they're, especially if they're home, you shouldn't see that. If they're away, there's variables that you can't factor into, like crowd noise and things like that. But normally teams already have certain plays already crafted out. And once they figure out which ones you are allowing the most production from, they go back. That's why they sit on the sidelines and they go back through the plays. They're not just looking for what they missed and stuff. They're looking for the ones that were productive so they can start highlighting them and saying, because everybody's using analytics. Oh, it worked that time. Let me see if it'll work this time. Oh, we did this play and we did it power left. Let's try to do it power right next time and see what we get off of that. They have their blocking scheme set up. Everybody knows exactly where they're supposed to be. So all of that to say, basically, they knew that PJ was going to be the starting quarterback. So the defense scripted their top 20 plays. The offense scripted their top 20 plays. And that's what you got to see. What you basically got to see is that their first 20 plays were better than the Panthers' first 60 plays. And then that's pretty much how it happened. There should not be a controversy. Baker Mayfield is not the answer. But I'm all for putting him in if it means that we end up getting the number one pick. Some people will say that Carolina still has a chance to win the division. As stupid as that would sound, with the team that is literally, 2-7?
2-7.
They are still in the playoff hunt.
2 games out, I believe, something like that.
Because there's, and here's the funny part, because there's no guarantee that Tampa can fully take the reins. It took a miracle comeback this past week just for them to win a game. Mike Evans doesn't look like himself. Chris Godwin doesn't look like himself. They can't run the ball. Watching the Rams and the Bucks try to run the ball was just terrible TV. It was terrible to watch. They both knew they can't run the ball. So it's just one of those things where at some point, who's going to make enough plays to win a game like that? And week in and week out, you can't depend on that. So the Bucks look real shaky. The Falcons are up and down. The Saints look dead in the water. So almost by default, if Carolina can sit there and simply stay ahead of the chains, manage the game, not come up with dumb penalties and mistakes, that's a lot to ask for this team. I know, I realize that. But if they can do all of those things more consistently than Tampa, they actually have just as good of a chance of winning the division as Tampa.
Sorta. They're already behind by a few games. That's the thing. But at least they have beaten Tampa, so that's
what I was about to say. So if it comes down to a tiebreaker, they currently have it because they haven't played the second game yet.
Both of the teams look miserable, just to be honest, though.
They did.
I mean, I'm sitting there watching this Tampa and LA game, and I'm falling asleep, just waiting for somebody to take reins of this thing and step on the gas.
Like nobody wanted to win the game.
Ever does. Penalty after penalty, drops, strip sacks, fumbles, 3 and outs after 3 and outs after 3 and outs. After a while, the punt became the biggest play of the game.
Yes.
Somebody let off a 74-yard punt and the crowd went crazy.
Anthony says, can we say the Eagles' last 3 games has been up and down, teams almost beating them? Yes, but I'm going to push back on this. When you're, and Rand, if I'm not mistaken, they're the only undefeated team in the NFL, right?
Yeah, and I think the Steelers are part of those last 3 games. So no, they beat the hell out of us.
So, but what I will say is this: when you're the number one team, as much as you've ever heard of teams playing down to their competition, sometimes because they know they don't have to be excellent to win. I always compare that to my Bulls dynasty teams that sometimes would kind of take their foot off the gas. Kansas City Chiefs is a great example of a team that is notorious for doing that, playing down to their competition instead of just keeping their foot on the gas. There's also the other side of that where there are teams that may not always be as good, that when you're the number one team, nobody expects anything from them. They got nothing to lose. If you beat them, nobody bats an eye. Nobody's giving them a chance to win. And you always hear the cliches, well, the only guys that believed we're going to win are the guys in our locker room. But that's true. They're the only ones that thought that they had a chance to win. Them and maybe a few family members, unless they, bet with bookies in Vegas. But a lot of times when a team is not always that good, they play up to their competition. Again, I'm citing the Jets, and we'll get to that, where nobody would give that team a chance to beat, I don't know, another MVP candidate, Josh Allen in Buffalo, and all of a sudden they pull out a win. Look, this is the NFL. These are all professionals. And that doesn't mean that every team is good, but they have good players. And a lot of times they will play and say, hey, wait a minute. We got who on our schedule? Oh, yeah, we're going to play up to them. When they see and think about it, the Eagles are coming to town. They're 8-0. You're playing them. Who wouldn't want to be the first team? Who wouldn't want to be the team to give them the first loss? What more motivation do you need? If that doesn't motivate you, hell, I don't know if you should be in the league.
I wrote something about that in the water cooler just this morning or yesterday morning about trying to gauge the motivation of teams when it comes to selecting a winner. It's tough to do it now because you can't really gauge the motivation of a team unless you're in the locker room where you got an inside source. But that is what it is. A lot of teams now, you have to kind of gauge that motivation. Another prime example of that is the Cleveland Browns. They got their prime time slot against Cincinnati. The whole world picked Cincinnati, and then Cleveland ends up blowing them out the box. It's not even close. On Halloween night, where everybody's wearing orange and black for Halloween anyway. It's the Browns colors, orange, black, brown. And they treated it like a homecoming, college homecoming, and they playing, Marshall Tech or somebody. As
a UNC fan, how many times when UNC wasn't that good, but the only thing that mattered was a game in February and a game in March, where you played them damn Dukies. And even if you weren't going to the tournament that year, as long as you beat Duke, that was almost as good as the Final Four.
Yep.
I remember those days.
Yeah, man.
Won't be this year, but I remember those days.
Sure won't.
Won't be this year, though.
No.
If you're looking for Tar Heels this year, just look at the very top of the page in the AP. That's what they'll be. Hopefully. I hope I just didn't put any juju on them. But Anthony says Washington might, it won't be a blowout. I hope you don't mean they might beat the Eagles.
That ain't happening.
Because if that's what you meant, I'll have what you're having. Because that's some good stuff, bro. No, I mean, I didn't saying, Brian, you just said that on any given Sunday. I know, but not any Sundays in the near future for Washington. I'm sorry. I mean, we need to see if Bezos and Jay-Z gonna buy them up first, since Snyder trying to get the hell out of Dodge. But anyways, but you always are gonna get everyone's best shot when you're on top of the hill. Everyone is gonna play up because they want to be the ones to say, hey, nobody else. There's 8 teams that came before us that couldn't do what we did. How much more motivation do you how many times have you seen it where there's a team positioning for the playoffs and they're looking ahead to the playoffs and a team ends up knocking them off that is going to be get a very high draft pick because they're sitting there saying, hey, you know what? Let's ruin the party a little bit. We ain't been invited. we're going to ruin the party a little bit. So teams will find motivation like that. Never underestimate that. Anthony says, I know I'm going to be asleep for tomorrow's night's game. Yeah, I mean, I ain't saying that, let's be honest. I don't think it's by design, but these Thursday night games on Amazon have been, if you're trying to encourage people to sign up for streaming, this ain't it.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be terrible. Have you seen the weather report for the game?
If I didn't already have Amazon Prime, I would probably get rid of it or not even enroll in it,
So tomorrow night's game is supposed to be winds up to 20 miles an hour and consistent on and off rain for the entire game.
And that's going to be because of tropical storm / potential hurricane Nicole making her way through the Bahamas right now, coming up towards Florida. That is definitely going to have an impact on the game, because with those kind of winds and everything, if the coaches are smart, it's going to be a lot of keeping the ball on the ground. So tomorrow's game is really going to come down to who can be more productive running the ball.
And are you really going to trust Eddie Pinheiro to go out and try to kick field goals in tomorrow?
Right, and see, that's going to be the other thing. So when you got some fourth and ones and you're at the other team's 36-yard line, are you really going to let him kick a 53-yard field goal?
Hell no.
No. You're going to go for it. And you should, because even if it's a turnover on downs at the 36 and the Winds are doing that, they're going to literally have to keep the ball on the ground for over 60 yards. And that's the way that you need to look at it in that game. You play the field position game a lot of different ways. With wins like that tomorrow, that's definitely the way that you're going to have to look at it. So hopefully, I don't know if Chuba Hubbard is going to be ready for tomorrow. I haven't seen the injury report yet. But you could tell that they really missed having that change up, because they tried to rush Foreman in that game, and he 7 carries for 23 yards. Now, part of the reason that he only has 7 carries is because when you're down 35-0, you really can't just run the damn ball if you're trying to win the game. Now you got to air it out because you've dug yourself such a deep hole. So in his defense, he only got 7 touches, but that's really because they weren't doing anything offensively. But the touches that he did get, they were really stuffing him behind the line or very short gains and things like that. So hopefully they can clean up some of the blocking. 2 coaches did lose their job. That's always a sign. I mean, that had to happen. Yeah, I mean, you got to have scapegoats, because you can't turn in a performance like that and everybody just come to work on Monday like it didn't nothing happen. Somebody's email is going to start bouncing back on Sunday night. Like, I keep sending an email and it keeps telling me that this user is no longer. Yeah, you get one of those, and that's how you find out you've been fired.
They were part of the Matt Rule tree, so get all these Matt Rule guys.
In my opinion, Randall, now that you say that, I would have cleaned everything out that Matt Rule touched.
Yep, everything.
Right? If you coached with Matt Rule at Baylor or Temple or hell, I don't even care if it was a church peewee league, you got to go.
Yeah.
That's
probably the only reason why you ever got the job in the
first place. Right. Because now I'm gonna have to question: do you really know what you're doing, or are you there because you knew him? So, especially if you helped coach his Pee Wee church team, I know it's because y'all was on the deacon board together. You got to go. You got to go. So, anybody else? I don't care if it's if the equipment manager was the same one at Baylor. Get rid of him. I don't care if I don't care if it's the chaplain. Get rid of him.
Gotta go.
Bye. Gotta go. I'm sorry.
Y'all.
I'm sorry. When I get a cleansing, you got to do a Matt Rule colonoscopy. You got to clean it all out. You can't leave nothing in the crevices. You just got to get rid of all of it, because all of it smell bad. I don't even care. I mean, I hate to say it, but you got to get rid of all of it. So anyway, that's just my position on that. Ain't much else to say about that Cincinnati game other than the fact that, oh God, Joe Mixon just scored another touchdown. So anyway.
Did somebody touch him this time? Probably not.
Oh, hell no. Why touch him? You know, they act like he was Derrick Henry out there and they were having to make business decisions or something. Oh, Lord. Speaking of which, that Sunday night football game with the Chiefs and the Titans, man, that was a very highly contested game too. Derrick Henry was having his way against that Chiefs defense too for the majority of that game. Dude had 17 carries for 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was out there wrecking it for a while. Then they kind of shut him down a little bit more in the second half of the game. But the first half of the game, he was really getting buck wild on him.
Yeah, I put this out here as well. It's like if they had gotten anything out of Malik Willis, they would have won that game. But
True.
Malik just had such a bad game. You can't really fault him. He's in there learning as what was he, 3rd round pick?
Yeah. Out of Liberty, small school, and
small school.
Now he's in the big time, and now he did have some decent decisions at times, and his receivers didn't help him out because they dropped balls. There was some of that too. That game proves Patrick is MVP top 3. All right, Anthony, I can finally agree with something that you said. Absolutely is. Of course he is. I don't know who your rounded out top 5 MVP list is, Anthony. Randy, you have your top 5 on your MVP radar?
Well, you got to go Mahomes, Allen, and I got Hurts up there as well. I mean, that's 3 for you right there. The other 2 I may have to think about a little bit.
Yeah. Would you throw Lamar in at this point?
He's close. I mean, I would have definitely had him last year until he started messing up. So we'll see how he plays down the stretch this year because it's going to make a difference.
No Aaron Rodgers, huh? No Russell Wilson.
No Matthew Stafford.
I kept seeing where Russell Wilson lost against bye week. All those memes. Okay, so you know what, Anthony? I'm glad you said that because I did hear commentators say that, and you're actually right. There's no way in the living hell that anybody's going to give it to Tua, but Tyreek Hill is actually in the conversation of shouldn't he get consideration or at least some votes for MVP? So he put Lamar in his mix. He said, no, take out Lamar, put Tua. Now, he just said it, or Geno. I don't think they'll give it to Geno.
No, most improved.
I can see him being most improved. But again, I will say this, and I'll get back to Kansas City in a second. But I will say this about Geno. They are not winning despite Geno. They're winning because of him. He's getting the ball to Metcalf and TJ Lockett.
Yeah, I don't know what got into him. He's highly, highly motivated, man.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude been in the league forever, and now it's almost like, now you do this? There's probably other teams that he been on is like, for real?
Jets.
They're like, oh, now you want to play?
Yeah.
Bro, why you ain't do this when we had you? You know, you still be here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know why? Think about it. You kind of just like I said about the underdog teams and the mentality. Nobody expects anything from me. Russell Wilson has had control of this franchise for as long as I can remember. They're expecting us to have a down year because we lost Russ. We lost Bobby Wagner. Nobody expects us to be that good. Everybody's saying we're going to be 4th in our division, and it's not happening. So when you don't have that pressure, I'll give you another example of a quarterback that plays that way. And Anthony, you can appreciate this one. Heineke.
Yeah.
Every time I see this kid plays, he just looks like he's in the backyard just playing a game of football. Like there ain't all these people in the stands. He's very competitive, but he's playing with nothing to look. And you know why? Those guys are humble because he's been out of the league, in and out, in and out. He's been down at the bottom of the depth chart and stuff like that. Gets overlooked and everything like that. So when he gets his opportunities, bro, he don't waste them. I'm a big fan of Taylor Heineke. Yeah,
He's very
I mean,
motivated.
all he does is just he gives it 100. He don't always make the right read or the best play, but he gives you everything he got every single week. I never question the motor in this kid. He
Yeah.
always puts it out there.
He's
Always.
another quarterback that's just out there playing super motivated right now. I
Yes.
mean, you put yourself in his shoes, you got to think, oh, so
Yeah.
y'all going to go out and you're going to get
You're gonna pay this other guy all this money.
Yep, you're gonna get him, pay him all this daggone money, and not only that, you're gonna draft a guy out of UNC, Sam Howell, to come in here and take my job too. Okay, well, I'm gonna show y'all what I
Yeah.
got. I got some gas left in the tank.
And some guys play well like that. Like, hey, this is my motivation, you know. And he comes out. I'll give you another player that did that, and that was Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
When that guy hurt, nobody expected. Everybody said, "Well, that's it. It's a wrap." And Cooper just came out there and said, "Oh, okay. Y'all act like I'm a scrub." So he came out there and he just started flinging the ball around, doing his thing. Hell, he was having better connections with CeeDee Lamb and Gallup and all those guys better than Dak was originally.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for motivation. You know,
absolutely.
What you can tap into. Michael Jordan was one of the best people at either using motivation or creating motivation.
Both.
Taking anything somebody said as a slight and then going out there and dominating you because of said slight, and I'm going to put you in your place. Most of the time, he just created it so he could get himself going and just drop 60 on you. But it still happened. You know, there was a lot of teams that never got to win a title because they had to go through Chicago because of somebody self-motivating himself like that, or him doing it to his team or being hard on his team like that to motivate them, you know, to win all those games and bring back 6 rings. You can't argue with the results, even if maybe the methods were not always the best. As I saw in The Last Dance, you know, I think he mess with some of them. There's some trauma involved, but that was his way of being motivated. But my point is that there's plenty of players out there that play motivated. Geno is definitely one of those. Tua, my God, all of last year, are they going to trade him? Or are they not going to trade him? They're trying to get Deshaun and everything else. And all Tua would do is continue to prepare every week, go out there, win the games and stuff like that. They don't lose games because of Tua, and they're not winning games in spite of Tua. They're winning with Tua. So, and bring Tyreek into the MVP conversation is kind of funny because it was the same way I was looking at Cooper Kupp last year and saying, well, wait a minute, how can you sit there and give Kupp all of the accolades about the Triple Crown and not acknowledge the fact that Matthew Stafford is the one that threw him the ball? And I can say the same thing with Tua, but most people will say, but Brian, the thing with Tua is that Tua just puts it up in the air, and Tyreek, I mean, he could have given Tyreek a 2-yard pass and Tyreek turned it into an 80-yard touchdown. That is true. There's some truth to that, but I still lean on the side that quarterback and that receiver have to have the kind of chemistry to know where they're going to be on the field and stuff like that. So I think there's something to be said for that.
Speaking of motivation, you could throw Hurts in that pot as well. The whole world
totally
and says, "Oh, if the Eagles don't do this, then it's going to be all the quarterback's fault because of all the things that we've given
because
them."
Everybody put out there, oh, they set him up to be successful. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do then.
Yep. You thought, hey, that's a really nice car over there, but it's going to depend on who y'all pick to drive it. And they proved that, hey, we got the right driver for this highly expensive car that we invested in. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure. He came behind Carson Wentz. People were still not sure if he was going to be their long-term solution, and if he wasn't, Howie Roseman and them would have been more than okay with looking into the draft to get another guy and move on from Hurts. Because at some point with these rookie contracts, you got to play them out at least into the second or third year because you got to make a decision on picking up that 5th-year option. You certainly don't want to tag a player after that, if you don't really know if you want to hold on to him or not, hello Dallas. They got into that mess with Dak, and it looks like the Ravens are going to get into that mess this all season with Lamar, which I'm actually supportive of them tagging Lamar. Just these contracts are getting stupid because of the whole Deshaun Watson contract. Now everybody's wanting 200 something million fully guaranteed stuff and all that foolishness now.
You can't really blame Baltimore for being hesitant on that either, because look at the amount of times that Lamar runs the ball like a running.
Oh, exactly.
Are you gonna really put like guaranteed money into that?
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah, it's like,
like, so, bro, we might give you like 170 guaranteed. Can we work with that? Maybe 185? Nah, I want all 250 guaranteed. All right, so I'll tag you and pay you 45 million then. How about that? And I can do it another time after that. And by then, if it looks like we should go ahead and do it, but they know the odds are that the more hits you take, and Josh Allen is going to find this out the hard way. You taking all them hits, man. You're going to start missing more and more games. Your body is going to start taking longer and longer to recover. And you're going to become a shell of yourself overnight like Cam Newton did. Everybody looks at Cam Newton and they say, that's him. That's not going to be me. And I just see these running quarterbacks as there's I always talk about there being a window. If you don't get it done in that window is going to close quickly. That's just regular.
Yeah.
When you're a running quarterback, I think that window is even more narrow than not, because your body can only take so much pain. This is a violent game, and the more hits you absorb, and especially when that's the kind of asset that keeps you successful. If you are a straight pocket passer and you decide to run when you need to and stuff like that, that's one thing. But when the best plays that you come up with revolves around you using your legs, and you constantly run and you take those kind of hits, then the things that make you special, you'll lose, and then you're not special anymore. You're ordinary or mediocre at best. So I don't blame the Ravens either, because, he takes a lot of hits. Anthony said, if they didn't give the MVP to Kupp last year, they won't give it to Hill this year. I totally agree. But he got to be in the conversation just because of what he's doing right now. And it's just the first half of the season. Then he also said Ravens know if they pay Lamar, they'll be in a rebuilding for 2 years. That's the other problem. And watch currently the Green Bay Packers to understand this. When Aaron Rodgers said, I'm leaving, they should have opened both doors and said, bye-bye.
Yep.
Go to Denver, bro, because paying him $50 million, he don't have no receivers. He ain't got nothing. You know what they need to do, honestly? They need to trade away Dillon and Jones, because you wasting them. You making them run through walls for no reason. That team has no chance. Send them to Buffalo. Send them to the Rams. Hell, 49ers okay right now. But you wasting them. You're wasting them, honestly.
I just thought that was such a fiasco last year, and he's going into the media saying, oh, this is the last time you're going to hear from me as a Green Bay Packer, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. Get me out of here, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And he ends up signing right back with them. Come on, man.
Yeah. And
Green Bay, just a mistake, though, because who gives that amount of money to a 39-year-old quarterback to begin with?
$50 million.
Yep. And now you have absolutely nothing to go spend in free agency and improve your team otherwise. So, and it's showing on the field.
Was it you that posted you can get old real quick or something like that? Did you post something like that?
Quick. Yep, that happens quick.
It does. I mean, they be trucking along like, the leading passer in yards last year was Tom Brady. Yeah,
another good example.
Well, he goes from first to I think he's middle of the pack now. Yep. You can't. always keep that going. At some point in time, Father Time is undefeated. And even if you can shake it off a little bit and make people kind of, fall in love with the mirage that they're seeing, at some point the bill comes due. And a lot of times when you keep prolonging it like that, the next thing you know, I remember when it looked like Jordan was running down the court and I knew he was going to dunk it. Boy, I just knew he was going to pound it in. He got up there and said, I don't think I'm as high as I used to be. He just laid it up. And you're like, well, that was uneventful. It happens. It happens.
That was to everyone.
Yeah. This was a guy that we used to say he defied air and could hang time and all that other kind of stuff. Man, hey, I remember I used to ball back in the days. I remember having a little bit of hang time, not like Jordan, but I remember having some hang time, and I turned a certain age and it was like it all just went away. I was going around looking for it. I'm like, I'm looking for my game. Have you seen it? Because I went out the other day and it didn't come with me. And then she said, yeah, there's a postcard on the table. It's from your game. They left. I'm like, oh, great. Anthony, I saw a post. Saints was number one over the cap last year. And guess what? They number one over the cap. Again, crazy. Let's see. You think they'll keep Michael Thomas? I would think not. Why? I don't know what his contract situation is. If financially they can get out of it without taking on a whole lot of dead money, but if his cap impact is really low, like Ezekiel Elliott's will be low after this year, then those are decisions that you have to make. Here's the question, though. If you don't have Michael Thomas, who are you going to replace him with?
Well, they got Olave. He's the future.
He is definitely the future, right? Jarvis Landry just hadn't really seemed to do anything.
But Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, what's his name? Green in Arizona. All three of those dudes are in the same position.
That's a great guys
that have fallen off the cliff. With talent.
Yep. That's true. That's true. I mean, you remember it wasn't that long ago when Michael Thomas had broken the record for receptions in the season and all that kind of stuff.
Dominant.
Yeah, just dominant. Every time the ball goes his way, whether it was on target or not, he just got it. He caught everything.
Green in Cincinnati, the same thing.
God. People say what they want about Andy Dalton, but him and AJ Green, man.
Unstoppable.
But yeah, you're right. It's like you blink and you look at him going, man, you ain't what you used. I mean, you remember when Julio would line up on one side of the field and it would just strike fear in you. Like you would just be like, please let this pass rush get to this quarterback. Do not let him put that ball in the air. Because either it's going to be a DPI or he going to burn us. He going to blow the lid off of this. We're going to have to wrap him up and get a pass interference call, or he just going to blow the top off.
Yep, he was one of those wide receivers where you knew as a defensive coach going into the game, we're double teaming him.
You have to.
We're double teaming him.
Yeah.
That's the game plan.
You set one over the top, one underneath, and you sandwich him in between.
Yep.
You having Julio sandwiches all day. You basically saying, we're going to make somebody else beat us today. It will not be him.
Yeah.
Because he had that. And Michael Thomas the same way. If he's on the field, you better know where he is at all times. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They should keep Thomas or Kamara. I mean, that's just having an expensive. You're definitely rebuilding. When you're rebuilding, why have a bunch of expensive toys? What you really need when you're rebuilding, what helps you rebuild faster than anything is draft picks. Get the picks. Get draft picks. Let somebody else pay that inflated, bloated salary. Maybe they think they're a Michael Thomas away from getting to the NFC or AFC championship game or something like that.
We'll deal with the controversy that Kamara is going to bring next year due to all that court and assault charges catching up with them.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. I just, it doesn't make sense to me to do it. I would definitely, if it's cap friendly to get rid of him after the season, you end up with that March 1st deadline after the season. Yeah, I would say goodbye. And you're doing the player a favor too, because if you're going to start rebuilding and they're getting up there in age, do they really want to be around for a rebuild process?
Yeah, I'm not even seeing a whole lot of desire to play football left in Michael Thomas. He's been largely off the field for the past 2 years, off the field currently because of a toe now. And
Did you see that thing where it had Michael Thomas? I think I put it on that thing too, where it said, he's out for the season with, out for the season with a toe, and the dude for the Commanders got shot and only missed 4 games.
Brian Robinson, yes.
Hey, people make business decisions all the time.
Goes back to what we were talking about, motivation.
Yeah, when you're not getting that big of a check, hey, I got shot, but hey, listen, if y'all need to have me dress Sunday, just let me know, just in case. Your dress, bro, you and ICU. Yeah, they're gonna discharge me tomorrow. Anthony says, I really want to know, will the Cowboys really are Cowboys really gonna let Pollard be number 1 finally and trade away Zeke? No. No.
You don't think they're wise enough?
No, I'm gonna tell you why. Because the general manager and owner ain't gonna let that happen.
Yeah, he's a fan.
Jeray said that's different levels of money. It really is. Listen, Jerry has made it clear that Zeke is his boy. They they look at Zeke like he's and he is. They complement each other in the way that Zeke is a pounder. And the thing about Zeke, and Brand, I hate talking good about the Cowboys. You know it. So if I say it, y'all should understand that I must really believe it, because if you know how much I hate the Cowboys, I would never just give them praise, But the one thing that Zeke does better than running the ball is pass protection. He's a really good blocker. He doesn't mind blocking. There's some running backs that shy away from contact. Zeke is not one of those dudes. Just like some of the tight ends out there, some of the best tight ends out there are the ones that will sit there and block. Gronk was a great blocker. As much as people talk about his receptions and yards after catch and stuff like that, that dude don't mind getting his hands dirty either. But everybody doesn't embrace blocking like that. Why do I bring that up? Because Tony Pollard is not that good of a blocker. And that's going to keep him from being a feature back, and he's going to be more of a change of pace back. Let the first running back get you to pounding and pounding. It's like when you're in a boxing match. You don't get the guy that's just fast and just sitting there wailing and everything. You get that guy that's really methodical, delivering a lot of body punches. And he knows that those body punches early on isn't going to do anything. But as you get later into the rounds or later into the game, those punches start to have that impact that, okay, now instead of getting 2 yards, then -4, then 3 yards, -1, and those kind of things. Now when he hits you 6 yards, 8 yards, oh, he just busts for 22. That's what's going to happen with a back like Zeke. Pollard is that real shiny object that people like to see a lot of times because he looked real good. Because every time you see him, it looked like he's running for 40 yards. Yeah, but isn't that because Zeke actually did some of the dirty work by softening them up too? Is he really that guy that you're going to say is an every down back? Or is he that back that on 3rd and 6 is going to be able to catch a screen out of the backfield and make the first person miss and maybe turn that 3rd down into a 1st down? Is he that kind of dude? So I think their skill sets are a little bit different where, you see his production and you think that production is good enough to be a feature. I'll give you another example of that, Rand. They said the same thing about CeeDee Lamb. Oh, Amari ain't no number one. CeeDee Lamb got more receptions. CeeDee Lamb got more yards. Yeah, because they're double teaming Amari.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look good when you ain't the dude. You benefiting because the dude is on the other side of the field because they're scheming for the dude. So all you got to do is put yourself in a position to make plays when your number is called. That's a lot easier to do when you're number 2 and number 3.
Yeah.
Anybody heard about Cedric Wilson this year? I ain't heard.
There's a lot of fanboy when it comes to Jerry Jones, and he kind of reminds me of another Jerry here in Carolina that we had to deal with for a while.
Name.
Jerry
Yep.
Richardson.
Yep.
We would fall in love with his players and would overpay them to stay longer than necessary, and we end up like
him and Marty.
Heavy contracts for older guys that were no longer producing. I think Jerry Jones has a lot of that in him too.
He does. They get sentimental.
Yes.
That's what a lot of it is. And I know they appreciate it, but they know it's a business. But, you know, Jerry is more loyal to the guys that he brings in because those are his guys. Now, Amari had no shot in that because they traded for him with the Raiders. So he wasn't really his guy. They just borrowed him. But when he drafts a guy, it means something more to him. You can tell when he drafts guys. Think about Romo.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, he held on to Romo. You know, you gotta separate the two. Romo the commentator is not what Romo the quarterback was. Let's just be clear. Just like I look at Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez, the commentator, is definitely not what Mark butt fumble quarterback was. So, so when you're looking at the way Jerry looks at his homegrown players versus the ones that they go out and make a trade for, it's a totally different feel. He's a little bit more willing to get rid of them.
That's why he's so in love with Dak as well.
Exactly. Even if, because by that same kind of thought process, Anthony, you are winning with Cooper Rush. Why wouldn't you keep him? And I mean, he never showed you any reason to pull him. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the best thing to do was go back to Dak. But I'm just saying, it wasn't as if their performance altered because you had him in there. He ran plays just as well as Dak would have, and they're using the same format now in a lot of ways that they use when they have Rush in the game, because they started to realize that Dak having massive amount of passing yards did not always equate to wins. The same lesson that Jordan had to learn, that he can win scoring championship after scoring championship, but you could still be not making the playoffs or bowing out early. So those individual accolades did not translate into making deep runs. With that said, while I'm talking about the Cowboys, it looks like they may have a good November. But I will say this, Rand. How funny would it be for them to go to Lambeau and come back with an L?
I mean, I think we all know the L is coming. I had Dallas.
I don't know who's going to give it to him. I don't know who's going to give it to him. But if they go to Lambeau and they lay an egg or they come back with an L, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a Packers fan come Sunday. Cowboy fans kill me. Keep Cooper in. He's better than Dak. One bad game. Don't bring him back. Don't. One bad game. No bring back Dak. Cooper is bad. Okay. And they ain't quite sure where you were going with that one. Cowboy fans kill me. Keeping Cooper in. He's better than Dak. Dak had one bad game. So they don't bring back Dak. Cooper is bad. I don't know. I didn't see anything Cooper did that was bad. He got the ball out on time. He was very secure with the ball, not throwing around picks and stuff, and kept the defense on schedule. They won not necessarily because of him, but they certainly didn't lose because of him either. They kept winning, actually. So, I mean, Cooper didn't do anything bad.
Fans just overreact big time. This is all there
Yeah.
is to it. I remember just a few weeks ago when PJ Walker went out there for the Carolina Panthers, had an outstanding game against the Atlanta Falcons, almost pulled it off. Would have pulled it off if it wasn't for stupid ass referees. Let's just keep it what it is.
Yeah, facts. Again.
But after that game, we got some people that I was hearing from in the cooler and on Sports Talk Radio talking about give PJ Walker a contract for next year. Let him be the starter. One game. And you see how quickly that turns around and deteriorates in just one game.
They know they was playing the Falcons, right?
Exactly. Fan overreaction is crazy, though. Fan overreaction.
Yeah, I mean, you know, fan is short for fanatic, and that's some fanatic talk right there for sure. I mean, I would drug test you if you said that to me. I'd be like, hey, come on down here. What's Lab Four doing here?
You didn't see that in the cooler?
I didn't. I missed that one. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I would have jumped all over that. Like, y'all need to stop smoking that stuff so early in the morning. That's just crazy. I mean, everybody knows you don't start smoking till at least noon. But
your boss know
that. That's crazy. You can't let one game, good or bad, really give you any kind of indication. There's a lot of factors, especially as fans, that we don't see. We don't see how these guys practice. We don't see all of those kind of things too. So, and then you don't know a lot of times if sometimes it's just simply coaching. If the coach is calling dumb plays, I'll give you a perfect example. If they're calling run, and then on 3rd and 11, they want you to get a first down, but that may not listen. Everybody on the field, everybody at the game, everybody watching the TV know you got to pass. So now the guys that would sit there and look to play to run know that they can drop back in coverage because you have no choice but to hoist the ball down the field. You become predictable that way. And a lot of times that's just simply coaching, and it puts a quarterback in a really, really bad spot.
Canada for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
For Carolina.
Exactly. So then everybody starts talking about the quarterback is garbage. The quarterback is garbage. No, your scheme and your coaching is garbage. The quarterback would be decent if you put them in opportunities to be successful. Putting me behind the chains and then basically when I can't bail the team out, now I'm the scrub, makes no sense to me. But a fan will look at that and go, what are we paying this guy for?
Yeah.
No. It's the dude up in the box that you need to be asking that about. Because everybody knew what he was going to do. Wasting 1st and 2nd downs makes no sense to me a lot of times. You got to get positive yardage on 1st and 2nd downs. Otherwise, you put your court. I've seen Carolina do that year after year where they try to play this game of run first, run second. Oh, crap. Now it's 3rd and more than 10 long. And now I need the quarterback to come up with a play. Now the defense knows all they got to do is jam your receivers long enough so the pass rush can sit there and take your quarterback down and get home. They know that.
What drives me insane is when it's 3rd down and 10 and they run pass plays or pass patterns for 7 yards.
Knowing that unless he can get yards after the catch, it's still gonna be 4th and 2, 4th and 3.
Yeah, a lot of them are turnarounds where they go out and they turn around and they wait for the ball to get to them and they're not even beyond the sticks.
I've never understood that one. Like, if you're going to throw the guy open and he catches it 7 yards, but he's got at least another 3 in front of him, that's one thing. But when you're throwing and there's definitely coverage behind him, that as soon as he catches that ball, everybody's going to take him down. There's going to be no yards after the catch. There's not even a chance of it. And you would still throw that way. What? Why?
It makes no sense. Why even design that?
Right. Like you got a whole playbook, and that was the play that you came out with. I don't get it. You're just hoping that he's going to be able to make somebody miss. So what? Somebody going to slide on a blade of grass and miss the tackle? What are you waiting for? Anthony, if you was a manager, who you giving the pink slip to, Rodgers or Brady? Oh God, Rodgers. Hey, Vera Edwards, how you doing?
Vera, what's going on?
Yeah. If I was a manager, I'm giving. Well, here's the thing. In a vacuum, hey Rand, in a vacuum, I would say Rodgers, but the problem is this: you can't afford to get rid of either one of them right now because of the hit on your cap.
Yep.
That's the problem. They pay these quarterbacks in such a way that they can hamstring your team for years, especially when you front load a lot of their contract with signing bonuses and or salary, and you sit there and you back. What's worse is when you backload it, where they don't start to see the salary bubble up until like the third or fourth year. Okay, that does give you room to you always hear about them renegotiating the contract, so it opens up salary space. We have another term for that: kicking the can down the road. Because what you're saying is, I'm gonna pay you, but I'm gonna make it look like your payments have been deferred. Or we're gonna take some of that payment, and instead of deferring it like that, we're gonna turn it into a signing bonus, so you get the money, but it doesn't show up as salary. So now your base salary will look like a smaller cap number. You still got your money, but we made the base salary smaller so that we could sign other people to stay under the cap. It's just a way of manipulating the numbers. But the problem is, the further into that contract, that's more dead money just sitting there. That's harder against your cap. Now, what they're banking on, Rand, is, well, we'll go ahead and do that because we know that in 3 years, because of TV contracts and stuff, the cap is going to keep going up. So that $15 million hit, if we took it now, won't be as significant in 3 years because the way the cap moves up, we can absorb it then. That's what they do. They take that gamble. Now, a lot of them got screwed when COVID came because they took that cap hit and then they had no money because the cap didn't go up. It actually went down.
Anthony, I can tell you that as far as getting rid of Brady or getting rid of Rodgers, Tampa is in a much better situation to do that than Green Bay. Green Bay is stuck for a while, and it's their own fault.
They're done. It's going to be – I feel bad for them because, that's the only organization where there's a board and fans – a board that owns the team. It's not like a single owner. So, man, I feel bad for them. But Rand's absolutely right. Tampa has a lot more upside. They can do a few things. Even if Brady calls it quits after this year, they can do a little bit more in Tampa. From a salary standpoint, they got a lot of expiring contracts. I think Mike Evans is going to be up. They can do some stuff with Godwin, even though he signed an extension. I think it was only like a 3-year extension. So they got some room there. Whether it's Shaq Barrett, they got some room there to be able to move him around. They may want to keep Vita Vea in that middle. But, I think there's not truly anybody on that team that they couldn't just kind of like cut bait with and try to make their team better.
Leonard Fournette's another name.
Yeah, and Leonard Fournette. And they're in such a weak division that as they're rebuilding, they could still be the best of the rest. Green Bay is in a situation where Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota are trying to take their title away.
And Minnesota's already on top of them.
Yeah, and they're going to come. Honestly, they're going to more than likely come out with the division. There's no shot that Green Bay is going to be able to recover from it. But I just need Green Bay to be good Sunday. After that, go back to being poo-poo. I just need you to step up on Sunday at Lambeau. Win one for BP. There you go. Yeah. Anyway, any games of the week that you're looking at for this coming week?
Coming week, I'm interested in, of course, my Steelers being back playing the Saints. I'm thinking this is TJ Watt's time to come back from that pectoral tear. I want to
It's
see
in
what,
Pittsburgh too.
yeah, I want to see what difference that makes. I mean, he's like one of those game changers that you
Yes.
take him off the team, it cripples another team, like taking away their starting quarterback. And I've had that conversation before. But TJ Watt being back in the mix, that's going to help that defense tremendously. So,
You see him
yeah,
winning?
that's one of my games, definitely. What about you? What you got?
Do you see them winning that game?
Possibly.
Yeah.
You never
know,
know now. I'm telling you, it's just like really tough picking these things. But no Jameis for New Orleans. It looks like it's going to be the redhead wonder up in there once again. They will be one-dimensional as far as a passing attack with Olave. He's a rook. Michael Thomas, of course, is not going to be in there. So I think a lot of the game planning is going to go towards stopping Kamara, and we're going to see if we can do that this week. And of course, teaching Kenny Pickett to play turnover-free football and also better operate in the red zone. So those things are going to be difficult, but we'll see.
Yes. Not one of the games I'm looking forward to, but just to make a note, the Seahawks Buccaneers game is going to be played in Germany. So it's a 9:30 telecast game. It will be interesting, though, to see how both teams travel. A lot of times defenses show up better than offenses in games like that. So it will be interesting to see if Geno can really, really prove once again that the better quarterback on the field is going to be him, which will be interesting. He definitely will have more weapons, and we'll just be able to see if Tom Brady can give folks one more good show, or I'm a Seahawks fan this coming week because I need them to keep them down in the standings, just for personal reasons with the Panthers. But that will be interesting. The Lions and the Bears is going to be an interesting game because this is going to be for NFC North implications, possibly. The Lions are not dead. They're not totally out of this. Minnesota. Chicago is not at the top just yet. So they could be fighting for second place because Green Bay looks like they're going to spiral. They really do.
They headed in the wrong direction.
You got the Browns and the Dolphins. That should be a pretty decent game. Will Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett be able to put enough pressure on Tua Tagovailoa just to keep him from getting the ball downfield to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? Or if that offense is just going to be explosive? Or can Jacoby Brissett kind of do what he did against Cincinnati and just be very effective and efficient? That's going to be a very, very good game to be able to see. Are the Browns who we think they are, or the Dolphins who we think they are?
Yeah, and I think Cleveland is making a little bit of a mistake here. They just came out recently and automatically just named Deshaun Watson the starter for when he returns in week 11. But Brissett has been playing pretty good football. He has them a 3-5 record. He has them in a chance to win that division. I mean, they're not that far behind Baltimore. Still in the mix of it.
So this will be game number 9, and Deshaun got suspended for 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So they've automatically named Deshaun the starting quarterback, and I think that's just a little bit of a mistake. We'll see how that plays out. But we're talking about a guy who's not played football in 2 years. How's that going to look in real time?
He can, and I think even though he's suspended 11 games, I think there's a window that he can come back and start practicing with the team. I'm not sure if that's coming up after this game or the game after, but I think he can come back before a game he's eligible to play. I think.
He can. I think he's already been with the team and practicing and stuff, but still, that practice time is not live football time.
It's not game speed. Yep. Anthony, before I go into any other ones, Anthony said, "Oh my God, finally Chase Young is back." That would be good to see. Your defense needs him back there for sure. And he said Andy was okay. He just didn't have any time in the pocket. I would imagine talking about Andy Dalton for the Saints.
Yeah.
You've got the Broncos at the Titans. Not so much about that one. But a good one I think is the Bills and the Vikings. And I don't know if I would have said that at the beginning of the season, but that's actually an intriguing game. The Bills coming off of a loss. Josh Allen's nicked up. Kirk Cousins is being Kirk Cousins. He's doing what he has to do, finding ways to win. He's got Thielen, he's got Jefferson, he's got Dalvin Cook. He's got a slew of guys there. So they're 7-1. The Bills are actually 6-2. So if the Bills win, they'll both be 7-2. So we'll really have to see. This is going to be in Buffalo, so it'll be very interesting to see how Buffalo responds to a loss. How do they come out of this game?
How did they respond from that, man? Because that was a little bit of
humble pie,
a bit of a shocker when they lose to a New York team like that. But yeah, injury news
that
on
team was
Josh
going to surprise some people this year. That was going to be a scrappy team this year,
and they are.
Mm-hmm.
But a little bit of injury news on Josh Allen. I mean, that nicked up elbow. We hope that's not going to be anything that's going to prolong itself over the course of the rest of the season. Or we got a big time shakeup in the rest of the AFC.
That is correct, because that team goes as Josh Allen goes.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, and then you've got Texans at the Giants. That wouldn't normally entertain me at all, but if that's a win that the Giants can get, that just keeps them on pace in the NFC East, which is a very competitive conference right now, because when you look at the standings in the East, the Cowboys and the Giants are both tied for 2. So if the Giants win and the Cowboys do beat the Packers, they'll both be 7-2, which will still have them behind the Eagles. But when we start getting closer to playoffs and we're looking at wild cards, this is going to get interesting.
Giants, I went and I got your defense for my fantasy team this week. Don't disappoint me. Come on, baby. Come on.
Get Davis Mills on the ground. Get home, right? Get a pick 6 off of him.
Make me look like a genius this week.
He's good for one of those. But yeah, that NFC East is very, very competitive. So that's going to be an interesting game. If the Seahawks do beat the Bucks, that'll put them at 7-3. And right now, the 49ers are in second place at 4-4. So if the Hawks can keep winning, that's just putting more pressure on the 49ers and the Rams, to the point where the Rams are going to risk getting eliminated, because you can't be third in the West and think you're going to get a wild card. That's not going to happen this year.
Such an odd year this year for football. I mean, some of the things that we predicted at the beginning of the year, I mean, they are there. They're thriving and they're doing well, or we think they're going to step on the gas and do well. But others are just odd situations.
Boo-boo.
Seahawks, Giants. I never saw that coming.
Jets.
I mean, I kind of agree with you a little bit, but not this much.
Well, I knew that they would be competitive. I didn't know if it would translate into wins, because when you're a young team, you'll just come up just a little bit short on a lot of those games, where if you give it another year or two, you might win that one. You might get that one. The ball might bounce your way on that game. But they're actually coming away with W.
They're eating. And they're not scared either. They went up against Buffalo. They had nothing to lose. Them boys.
I mean, Buffalo walks on the field, and you could have easily said, but see, again, Rand, here I go again. You ain't got nothing to lose.
Yes, and you can see it in their play. You can see it in their play.
You can play loose. You don't have to be afraid to do something, because if you fall on your face, everybody expected you to anyway. Oh, They gave them a good game, but they just came up short. Maybe not this year. Maybe a year or two down the road, and that would be the story. Or when you're the Jets, people just look at you with disdain anyway, because they just say, "Well, hell, same old Jets."
Old Jets, they ain't gonna do nothing.
Right? You have nothing to lose. That should be one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL, because nobody is like playing the Cubs. Nobody expects you to do a damn thing.
Yeah.
They just show up for the popcorn and the hot dogs. That's it. And sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," 7 in the stretch. That's it.
And I think the biggest so what on the whole team is my man Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Line me up against Diggs. So what?
Yeah, it's just Diggs.
It's Diggs.
I call
So
him
what?
Diggs.
Let him go.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's good sometimes if you ever seen those teams where they're so young. The Bengals were like that last year. They
Yeah,
didn't know what they didn't know. So they just
exactly.
played. And it carried them all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Sometimes it's kind of like when Jim Irsay promoted Jeff Saturday to coach after they got rid of Frank Reich this week in Indianapolis. Irsay says, well, I'm glad he doesn't have any experience because he doesn't have that fear. And I'm just like, damn. So because I mean, you got John Fox on your coaching staff and other coaches that have coached in the NFL. I know that's going to rub a lot of teams the wrong way that they gave it to Jeff Saturday. Go North Carolina. But former center with the team and everything. But his point was he hasn't developed that shell shockness of doing things and then it not working, and then he's afraid to do it. And then he leans so much on analytics that it makes him
Analytics.
conservative.
Yes.
And I'm glad you didn't do John Fox because he is the ultimate in conservatism.
A punt is a good play.
Right. A punt is the best play. Oh my God. Yes, that's who he is. So if you want to get a goal leg kicker, yeah, John Fox is your coach because you'll be kicking all game long. So let him do it. 3 and out, no problem. Bring the kicker in. He got ice all on his knees and everything.
Game ball punter.
Yes. Yes. Now you got the Jaguars and the Chiefs. I expect that to be a bloodbath, but we'll see. Trevor Lawrence, it just seems like it's going to take him a while. He's going to be a project. He's coming along, but it is not like, you know, when people were tanking for Trevor, he's kind of come out. He hadn't set the NFL on fire yet. So, but he may make that leap in his 3rd year, but this year, not so much. Now, some of that is going to be consistency. He hadn't had a real good fair shake. He lost his running back right before his year began last year and everything. And now they're trying to develop a cohesiveness together. But having to do that against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and those guys, that's probably not the best time to do that. So that's going to be an interesting game. A lot more of these games are interesting for some of their storylines, like the Colts and the Raiders, both of them going nowhere fast. The Raiders just look totally discombobulated. Derek Carr seems to think that Devontae Adams is the only receiver on the team.
Yep.
And he's getting his statistically, but it's not translating into wins. So, you know, yay. And then you got to play the Colts. And this will be Jeff Saturday's first game as interim head coach. We'll see how that goes. You got the Cardinals and the Rams. This will be interesting. You got a team that's starting to pick up in the Cardinals, where Kyler and D-Hop are back together again. And they seem to be doing very, very well with that. They may be catching the Rams at the right time to get a W out of that one.
Speaking of an anemic offensive team that only sees one wide receiver on the whole daggone field, that would be the LA Rams. Jesus.
Thank you.
There's
You're
other
overusing Cooper Kupp. You are overusing him. But I think Stafford just doesn't have any trust in his other receivers right now. But I don't think it's so much because of the receivers. I think Stafford is hurt.
I'm starting to think the same. There's something up with that elbow, man.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to minimize it at the beginning of the season. But to your point about Josh Allen, if you ain't right with your elbow like that, that will affect your play, your confidence in letting that ball go and throwing guys open and stuff like that. But when you have a receiver like Kupp, you don't have to put it right there on him for him to then be able to turn up field and do something with it. But for your other guys that run more precise routes and everything, your whole arm mechanics have to be right. If you don't trust your arm mechanics, you're going to be afraid that if I try to throw it and it gets behind him, it's going to get picked off. And Stafford is kind of like Trayvon Diggs. He makes the big play on interceptions, but he also gives up a whole lot of yards on getting burnt. Stafford can throw for a lot of yards, but he also throws a whole lot of pick sixes.
You go back just to last year and you look at Matt Stafford, and then you look at him this year. Just something is off.
Like the same dude.
It's not right. It's just not right.
Like the same dude. Yep. Absolutely. Then you've got the Chargers and the 49ers. this is going to be a big game for both. I think more so for the 49ers to try to keep pace with the God, it sounds crazy to even say that. Keep up with the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a crazy year.
and if by some chance the Rams can beat the Cardinals, then they got to keep up with, they got to keep the Rams off of them because the Rams are currently behind them, but not by much. So this is a very, games that would normally be snoozers actually have huge implications to them now. So that's going to be the crazy thing. And then finally, your Monday Night Football game next week, which will be very interesting. I'm going to watch it. Anthony, I know you're going to watch it. It's going to be the Cowboys, Lord have mercy. The Commanders against those Birds. How you feeling, Anthony? You feeling good? And Anthony had also said if someone paid someone over $200 million, he's starting, I don't care. Oh, talking about quarterbacks. Well, see, that's the problem is that you can't do that. I get it. But if the $200 million player is being outplayed by the $200,000 player, you play the $200,000 player because you owe your fans wins and victories, not sentimental value.
Heineke versus Wentz. Right now, Heineke versus Wentz. Eventually, when Wentz comes back.
Yeah, when Wentz comes back, do you take Heineke back if he let me ask you this, Anthony. If Heineke leads the Commanders to a win over the Eagles, you bringing Carson Wentz back?
I'm not.
Shit. Ain't no way in the hell. He says, I feel that we should have won that Vikings game. That last penalty cost us. I agree. But that ain't got nothing to do with Heineke. I'm telling you, if Heineke sits there, even if y'all don't beat him, but you didn't lose because of Heineke, how do you justify bringing Carson Wentz back?
Ain't no justification.
And if you say, well, we paid him all this, that money is gone. The check been signed. The ink is dry. Get it over it.
Yeah.
You play these games to win.
Exactly.
And if Heineke gives you a better chance to win, which I said before they went and got Wentz, there was a reason that Philly got rid of him. There was a reason that Indianapolis got rid of him. Don't think you sat there and you've been dumpster diving and you find something in the trash and you go, I think if I clean this up a little bit.
Carolina.
Right. Just now the cesspool of broke down quarterbacks.
Yes, please don't take nobody else's quarterback next year. Please draft somebody. Jesus.
Oh my God. I feel bad for Matt Corral because, he ain't going to be on the team much longer. He's going to be a Will Grier.
Hell no.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, this is just a mess. Well, that's all the teams that are playing this coming week, Rand. I think it's going to be an interesting week, like I said, because of all of the different implications that we would not have expected at the beginning of the season, but are definitely going to play a part. Now we are 8 games, and for a lot of teams, 9 games in, which is basically the midway point. Now we're going to really start to see teams tighten up. There's going to be other teams that over the next 3 weeks, Dallas, that will become mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. It's November, man. I just know how November goes for Dallas. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's like they're just going to find a grenade. They're going to take the pin out and they're going to sit on it. I just know it.
That's the fun part. That's the fun part. You know it, but you don't know how.
But I love it this year. The Cowboy fans have taken that gas and they've been quiet. They just wait. They just wait. And I've never seen them with this kind of restraint. It's almost scary. It's almost making me think they just might pull it off and go to the NFC Championship game. I don't want to believe it because if I got to go against what they've been doing, I'm leaning more to that. But would I be surprised if they were in the NFC Championship game? Actually, I wouldn't be. And that's what scares me to death about them.
You know what's going to happen if they go to the NFC Championship game, though?
I'm going to move to Dominican Republic.
Besides that?
What's that?
They're going to sit on a grenade.
and blow up in that game.
In prime time.
With everybody watching them. That's true. That's true. And you know why? because if they get to the NFC Championship game, they're not going as a 1 seed. So they won't be at home. It'll be a road game.
Yep.
Yeah. Which honestly, when they do play Jerry World, a lot of times they seem like the road team because that stadium brings people in from all over the place, and it's not always a Dallas-friendly environment.
Yeah.
Anthony says, I'll keep Taylor as starter. Heineke. And cut Wentz at the end of the season first class. Bruh, I think that would be one of the smartest decisions that could be made with that team. It's just you know what? If he hadn't been drafted where he was, I think he would have been gotten rid of. But I think it's same thing with Baker Mayfield because he was number one overall pick.
I was thinking him too.
People look at you a certain way and say you should be this good because what they don't want to say is that you're a bust.
Yeah.
That's what's prolonging it. That's why Daniel Jones is still starting in New York, even though he's redeemed himself a little bit. Brian Daboll and the guys have done a good job with him so far. But I mean, because he was number 6 in the first round, that put a lot of pressure on him to produce. And they overreached. He shouldn't have been the first round pick. But it wasn't his fault where he got picked. It wasn't Baker's fault that he got picked number 1.
But as soon as you said Baker Mayfield, I had that same thought because to me, both Baker and Carson have hurt themselves so bad with their play. I don't know where the opportunity is coming for them next year.
Oh, I do. They're going to be bagging groceries at Whole Foods. That's it. That's all I got for you.
You may be right.
and you know what? I just sincerely hope that they can get the products into the bag without dropping it. I know that was late. Don't sack the bags. Anyway.
Somebody's gonna knock Baker's bag down.
Right. He's gonna try to get to the bag, so he's just gonna slap it out of his hand. Remember that, Baker? Anyway. Well, that's all I got this week. Rand, thanks so much. We will see you guys next week for another episode. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and also on Roku as well as Amazon Fire TV. Y'all have a great week. We'll see y'all again next week.